how you guys been? It's been
It's
a
been a while.
couple. It's been a couple since
Yeah.
we've done an episode like this.
Jordan
I
looks
know
like
Chris was like traveling
rehoused.
overseas last time.
Yeah, Chris has been traveling
Yeah.
all over the place. Jordan's trying to hike the entire Georgian countryside in a month, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just working on building a podcast empire.
Yeah.
Um, you
This
know,
is the weirdest version of
it's
Monopoly I've
all
ever heard.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, super bizarre. Plus, not to mention, we've got all kinds of stuff going on in the news. Oh, geez
Dude.
Louise.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a wild time to be alive.
It's funny. I think since the last time we spoke, I don't know if we talked about this on the pod or not, but I like completely got rid of social media, and I like the whole like the comment on like what's going on in the world. I'm like loosely, lightly plugged in, but
You and me both.
beyond just like reading a tiny bit, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm over it. And not being on social media is like the most wonderful feeling. I mean, I haven't even, it feels like what sobriety must feel like. It just.
Whoa, don't go that far, Chris.
Well, no, but dude, I completely relate to that. And I had a period of time a few years ago, kind of after the hustle and bustle of the band days ended, when I wasn't doing shows anymore as much. And I really have never loved social media. So I kind of, I took it as an opportunity to back out slowly, and I didn't have it for, almost 5 years, I think. And then, starting the podcast up and trying to get the business going and stuff, I dipped my toe back in, and it just constantly reminds me of why I wasn't on it anymore. And so I'm really working on like all these systems that automate your social media, so I don't have to do anything except, interact with comments or, whatever. But yeah, it's a really rough thing. I think because, we've done so many episodes, right? Like almost the whole first season of the show. We really kind of did a lot of deep dives into why do we make these kind of choices? What makes you who you are, what affects your perspective? How does that how does that relate in terms of what you choose to post online and who you are as an online presence? The idea of playing characters. I had a really interesting conversation a few episodes ago with a new friend, Alex Newberry. We were just talking about like the influence and, how how all of those things can get out of hand and take you down a crazy path if your circumstances are right. So I completely relate to that social media idea. It's a bummer too, because it has such potential. I remember the early days of it, like for you kids who were born with Instagram already, swinging in full effect. There was a time when that did not exist. And I remember the early days of adoption. It was like, oh, I can stay in touch with my family who's far away, or, I could share pictures with my friends or whatever. And it just turned into this massive competitive cesspool of like, who can put up the most curated, filtered version of their life, and we're all trying to kill each other and step over each other to do a little better, to be a little more exciting, or to get people interested in what we're doing. I think about my grandparents when I was a kid. My grandparents didn't want anybody to know shit about what they were doing in their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were trying to build
they
higher
were war criminals though, Randy, so it's kind of important.
Yeah, right.
Hiding from multiple governments.
I thought it was the neighbors, but it turns out it was the CIA they were hiding from. No, but when you think about that, like, I guess maybe let's elaborate a little bit more, Chris, on what you mean when you say, that like why does it feel better? What is it? what is missing that makes you feel better about it?
I need to, I wish I would have brought my tinfoil hat in with me because I don't know how much time we have.
I got extras, bro. I can put it on in post. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Get it like dancing around, you know?
Got you.
I think like, it's so funny, man, because I started my career working in social media. Like way back in 2010. And so I had this like base of like, it can be such a vehicle for good and it can change the world. It can be a good thing. And I distinctly remember having a conversation with my wife's aunt, like, you know, in the year that Twitter was founded. And she had been on like Facebook or something like that, and somebody from her high school that she hadn't spoken to in like 40 years found her and just wrote the meanest, nastiest stuff. And, you know, this was 16 years ago.
Why?
Yeah, why? And I remember her just looking.
I'm so glad I found you. I've had all this horrible shit to say to you for over a decade.
Buckle up.
And so then, like, she's just like, I feel like it gives people this like false sense of protection to say whatever they want. And back then I remember thinking like, people won't do that. And now on the other end, I'm like, dude, she was so right. Like being on social media where I would get sucked in is my feed was like very like tailored to a handful of topics. It would be like, you know, certain political stuff that I didn't ever engage with and I didn't want to see. And it always showed up. So I'm like, why is this being put in? Like, I don't care about this. A ton of jujitsu stuff, which I did care about. Some business stuff and all this stuff. And then I would like look in the comments on like the jujitsu things and like, man, I could never do this. Like if I don't pull off this move the exact way that it looks, I'm shitty. I'm never going to get my black belt. I'm always getting my ass kicked. Do the business thing. And I'm like looking in the comments. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought about this for my day job. Like so it was always a thing where it was like the unachievable next step. And when you hear people talk about social media, it's like they're just showing you the part of their lives that is, you know, perfectly well lit with the right, you know, conditions pre-established. And then you sit there and have, I don't know if it's called FOMO or whatever, but like I would scroll for 10, 15 minutes and get like a little dopamine hit of seeing something fun or funny or cool. And then it was like, well, here's the best thing that you can't do. And here's the other thing. And I'm just like, I got to get out of here. Like none of this is real, but I keep getting sucked into it. Like, oh man, I have 10 seconds in the middle of my day. I'm just going to pop open an Instagram and start scrolling. And now that I don't do that anymore, I don't have this low level state of like, okay, I got to get better. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's that like? I'm not like hunting out this like arbitrary, undefined improvement goal.
Yeah. I think interesting, Chris. I know for myself, like I'm very rarely on Instagram. Like I use it for messaging pretty much, and I'll jump on and get off. Even like for myself in the mornings, like I don't get on social media until 9 o'clock my time, just because like I don't want to jump online first thing in the morning. I don't, and it's pretty much just like messaging and like a quick scroll through to see if anybody's commented, and that's it. And I'm back off again. Like, and even for me, like Granny said a joke, like I post my hikes on there. And the cool thing is like the All Trails app links to your Instagram. So you can take a picture of your hike. It'll show the statistics of what you did and then you just post for you. And so for me, it's like, I remember reading something one time as like the average Instagram influencer, right, takes the same picture like 100 times before they ever post it.
Yes.
And I remember hearing that and being like, I'm not doing it. I'm going to take one picture from the thing. And if it's blurry or whatever, I'm taking it one time and that's it. And it's the most not staged, whatever. It's like, oh, it's a cool picture of some trees. Click, upload. And like, and I post the pictures up with the All Trails information on it, and that's it.
Yep.
And I keep everything else. Other than
that reminds me of like, you know, where you would go over to your grandparents' house when you were a kid and they just had a ton of photo albums and like none of them were pre-staged and none of them had studio lighting. Yes. People couldn't write comments on them. Like when you're using it that way, like that sounds great to me. Like that's amazing. Yeah. But then there's all this other like cesspool of crap around it, you know?
Well, comment section I think is the slippery slope. Like
it's the bad
I don't
thing,
go to
right?
the comments at all. I don't want to see it.
I think that, so my first experience with social media at all was actually MySpace.
Oh yeah.
And
good old Tom.
I didn't even know what it was, right? Like somebody at work said, "Oh, you should get this thing called MySpace," and sent me an email. And I was like, well, what is it? Like I didn't even I just had no idea what social media even was. It was so new.
Yeah.
I wasn't part of chat groups in the AOL days. I wasn't, like I didn't do any of that. So it really was like, this wasn't even on the phone, right? It was just on the computer at the time. It was still like early days. But I remember one of my first bands, we made a MySpace page and we would post music on there. And I remember when I remember the first nasty comment that someone left. And I remember thinking, wow, like, okay, this is really nasty. I don't know why they feel this strongly about it. And I also had a weird feeling like somebody's now blasting what should be a private conversation, or what has traditionally been a private conversation. And they're just blasting it into the public marketplace, right? Like it's one thing to be in a room, in a smoky room, watching a band and go, "You suck," from the background or whatever. It's another thing to publicly put it in a place where it looks like it's going to stay there forever. Anybody, what if somebody else comes by and reads that we suck, like, and they just believe the comment and they don't even bother, so like instantly it starts to stress you out. And those were like, I mean, that wasn't even, now it's like personal, like they dox you, they put your address up, they do all this stuff. It's like, it's wild, nasty hatred. But I think it's an interesting point because I've been reading lately about lowering cortisol in my system. And if you haven't read into what cortisol is or what it does in your body, spend some time, go do some research and find out. You start to see like what too much cortisol does to you, and then you go, oh, this thing that I'm not sleeping through the night, I thought that was because of this, that's actually cortisol. This thing that, it takes me forever to fall asleep. That's blue light. That blue light is producing cortisol, like, so, anytime you're feeling stress or anxiety or anything, you're elevating your cortisol levels in your body, and your body actually can store it and hold on to it and slow release it for you so that you never get out of that cycle. Like, even if you start to eliminate those things, like Kris, like you said, I could shut off social media and not look at it again. But if I still wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I sit up in my dark room and I don't drink any water, and I jump on my phone and I start scrolling, well, immediately I've just increased my cortisol 3 times. Right? Like, before I even get out of bed. And now my entire day is set by the precedent that I gave it when I first woke up. I gave it a bunch of different stressors. I gave it a bunch of different things to think about. I didn't get any direct sunlight. I didn't get any water in my system. And then what? I wake up, and while I'm scrolling, then I start drinking my coffee. Right? Then I don't eat. Right? For the rest of the day. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm sitting there at home like, this sucks, man. Why don't I feel good? Like, why can't I feel better? Why can't I lose that 15 last pounds? Why can't I sleep through the night? And it's like, oh, because I'm intentionally stabbing myself in the throat and then wondering why I can't stop bleeding, like, have you guys done any deep research into cortisol?
I totally have. And like, when you look at just social media specifically, the way that the algorithms are engineered are very similar to the way that, like, the reaction that you get when you start smoking cigarettes. It triggers almost the identical chemical mechanisms in your brain. It starts with dopamine, which is, if stress is driven by cortisol, then reward is driven by dopamine. That's the feeling of like euphoria, right? You watch a video on social media and it gives you like 2 or 3 seconds of like, God, that felt great. And then chronic exposure over time to that increased level of information drives your cortisol up, because your dopamine gets blunted. So now you're like out of balance and out of whack. And so normal tasks, because your dopamine is down, that also has carryover. So you're off social media for the day or whatever, and then you go back to your porch and you sit down to relax and watch the sunset. It's suddenly boring. And it's a bit of a shock, and you're like, why is this doesn't do it for me anymore? Well, it's because you've been conditioned so highly with the dopamine that this no longer reaches the threshold of a dopamine trigger, which then switches your cortisol on and makes you think, oh man, I'm stressed, that's why, or I'm doing something wrong, that's why, or I feel sense of threat or conflict or rejection. And now you've completely inverted the system. So you don't generate dopamine and you over generate cortisol. And now you're chronically cortisol driven. It's just the worst loop in the world.
And then it's also like, it's a social thing where it's like our societal attention span has become almost nothing now too, where we need those 2-second clips. We need those, like if you watch old movies, a perfect example, like a movie from the 70s, nothing happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Like it's a very slow build up. And nowadays in movies, there's explosions happening in the first 30 seconds. Like, because if people don't get hooked and get drawn in the first little bit, like watch Bullet, like the old Steve McQueen movie or the Dirty Harry movies. It's like, where nothing really, it's a storyline is being told and you're building up to a certain climax. Or Aliens, like nothing happens in the first Aliens movie for like the first 45 minutes. Like it's just people on a ship talking, and then the thing comes out of the guy's chest and everything starts to kick off. But it's like, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I think that's true. And I think that, like both of you guys said it, it's that too much of a good thing, maybe, like you think, oh, it's not a big deal. Like what difference does it make if I spend 5 minutes just scrolling through watching video after video or whatever? But the reality is just like you said, Kris, like you're truly programming and teaching your brain to think a certain way, and your brain's the control center, right? So then it starts going haywire. I remember watching a comedy special. I think it might have been Louis C.K. and he was talking about did you ever give a kid an apple when they ask for a snack? Right? He's like, they can't even taste the apple. Like they can't taste an apple. Like they can't taste natural sugar. They're inundated with fake, super over powerful sugary snacks all the time. Like some of us try to give our kids the best we can, but even like our food has so much garbage in it if you're not eating whole natural food, right? The chemicals and all that stuff that's in it. So you get to this point where you build a tolerance, and to that point, anyone, if you think about the words that we're using, right? Like I think intolerance hit me, but then it started going down the line. But those are like the words that you use to describe like drug addiction or any sort of addiction, right? Because they do the same thing. The reward center that starts shooting flares off every time you eat sugar is the same one that does that when you sniff cocaine, right? It's like it's the same exact reward center in your brain. And so you understand why it's not that easy to just go, okay, well, I'm just not going to do that anymore. Like all of a sudden, I'm just going to cut myself off cold turkey. I'm not going to eat sugar and I'm not going to go on social media. Well, your brain's like, what? For the last 20 years, these have been the foundational blocks of your diet and your daily routine.
I 100% agree. Like when I stopped cold turkey, the first like 2 or 3 days, I was like twitchy. Like I didn't know what to do with my hands. I didn't know what to do with my life. And so, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just go back to learning languages. And so like I downloaded Duolingo for when I have 60 seconds. And I'm like, I'm just going to play a game, a quick dopamine hit, like do something like that. But you're 100% right. Like doing the cold turkey thing did not work well for the first few days.
Well, and even that, so even like the distraction idea, right? I've read so many studies that say, let your brain be bored, right? Like give your brain a chance to just stretch out again and go, oh, because really the deep, thoughtful connections that you have to things can only come outside of all that crazy distraction. You're never going to think of your best idea if there's
Right.
if the slot machine next to you is going off 24 hours a day, right? Like that is a massive distraction.
Yep.
And so the idea that we don't ever just sit and breathe mindfully and purposefully,
Dude.
just let ourselves be bored so that we start figuring, like, what do you even think about anymore?
Yeah.
Because, like I find myself all day, right, thinking about like, okay, all I'm doing is problem solving all of the issues that I'm having because of the poison that I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like, how am I ever going to get out of that destructive loop?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, like you said, like we as a people don't want to be bored, right? We don't want that moment. And for myself, it's like, I look for opportunities to leave my phone somewhere. Like if I go to like a doctor's appointment, right? I leave my phone in my truck and I just walk in and just sit there quietly and just watch the people around me, or
you psychopath,
process my own thoughts. Or
so, what do you?
It's
so how do
nice
you,
though.
How do you think we got here, right? Because I'm thinking of like, so you watch these movies in the Old West, or like even if you read about Shackleton, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect example. This guy goes to his crew. Their boat is stuck in the ice, right? They're not getting out. They know they're not getting out, so they're settling down till the season breaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
To look at your wife on your homestead and be like, I've got to go to Europe to negotiate something. Right. I'll be back in 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even like letters are going to be consistent. It's not like you literally are just, from the moment they're out of your sight, they could be dead immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And for at least 8 months, you would just assume they were still in Europe. And now I can't go to the bathroom without taking my phone because I'm afraid I'll miss an emergency phone call that one of my family members is dying. And what if I had 2 extra minutes that I could have, you know what I mean? Like, it's the craziest. I have to be attached all the time. I have to be reachable 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Life is not allowed to happen because I'm constantly trying to make sure that I'm controlling it. And if you already have control issues, and then you find yourself just holding this phone all the time, it literally for me is like saying I'm going to quit smoking, but I never put my pack of cigarettes down.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what if I can't? What if I have to have one right now? Like.
I think it's important though in life then to be intentional about finding opportunities to not have your phone with you, right?
Yes.
Like stand up paddleboard, or go for a hike, or do jujitsu, or
read a paper book.
Read a paper book, right? It's like, it's these situations where you're like, because I can't pick my phone out when I'm hiking up a mountain and be like looking at my phone as I walk up the hill. Like I get trip and fall, and or a stand up paddleboard. You can't be on your phone in the middle of the water. You drop and it sinks to the bottom, right? It's like these situations where it's like you have to force yourself to not be connected to it all the time and kind of see it for what it is.
I agree with that completely. And it made me think the other day, because I'm someone who like enjoys catching a good picture, right? Like I like to find a cool thing and take a good pic. Yeah. And in the pics that you post all the time, it's like, oh yeah, that's a beautiful spot. Like I would totally hike there too if I wasn't thousands of miles away. But there used to be this thing, right? Where, because no matter how good of a picture I take, it's never as impacting and breathtaking as it is actually seeing it with my eyes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be a thing where you would intentionally do that hike just because you wanted to sit and breathe in the quiet and take in that beauty. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't showing other people that, hey, look what cool place I'm in, or check out this beautiful view that I'm seeing. Right. It was like, this is intensely personal for me. Do you think that in that kind of a context that we've lost sight of sort of the actual true personal development that can take place? Because we read a lot of books, right? And we take a lot of advice from other people, and it's all like the personal development industry is billions of dollars, right? People are constantly trying to go to the right coach or the next, inspiring speaker or whatever, but really the most impressive Tony Robbins speech is him passionately describing what he sees when he's at the top of the mountain, right? Like you could easily just walk up there and look at that same view, but why do it? Tony's already done it, right? Let Tony tell you how beautiful it is. Let Tony tell you why it's important. Well, what about self-discovery? All the things that I've figured out on my own that I'm good at now, they're so much more fulfilling and rewarding than the things that someone's had to teach me, even if those things are amazing. You know, like I wouldn't have learned jujitsu on my own. So I'm obviously grateful to the people who taught me jujitsu, right? But I taught myself how to play music. You know, I taught myself how to write. I taught myself how to read. You know, like all those things, the things that are like the most fulfilling to me now are the ones that I really invested in and I figured out how to do on my own. Is there a better way? Well, what does the word better mean? Right? There's a different way, certainly. But when we talk about this intensely personal journey that we're all on, right? It's our individual journey. Why do you think it is that we feel like we constantly have to test other people's methods that they've employed, that they're successful at? Knowing full well as we enter into that venture that that it's possible that that's entirely inappropriate for us. Right? Like
it's I think it's just simply benchmarks. That's what it is. Like when you're on your own journey, it has to be defined by your own version of the truth. But for whatever reason, like for whatever your circumstance is, your journey is yours. And because it's such a difficult thing and because it's so hard to put to words, you look for external validation. You're like, God, am I making progress? Am I getting better at jujitsu? Am I improving in my day-to-day life at work? And you look to other people and you're like, well, that person's really good. Maybe I should try that. And social media is an avalanche of second by second, you're not good enough messages. And I can't remember who it was. There was a comedian out there that was like, we were never designed to process this amount of information at once. Like that is not what our biology is for. And you were talking about like the husband going overseas for 8 months to negotiate a new shipping deal or something. Like, you wouldn't, that's the pace of information that we can manage effectively when we do have time for self-reflection and planning, and we're not socially engineered to care more about what other people are doing than what we're doing. And like the whole social media culture and the access to information creates this weird dynamic where you're always pitting at some level your journey against the progress of someone else's in order to understand how much progress you're making. And it's just this weird, like fucked up loop.
Yeah. I think an interesting part of it though is maybe it might be how you set up your social media. Like for me, it's a little bit different. Like my page is private. And so if you're not friends with me or I don't know you, you're not getting access to me, right? And I really am I try to be intentional with kind of what I'm looking at. Like my friends who post things, like they post their stories, like I want to see what they're posting, right? And I like it or I won't like it, and if I don't like it, then I won't comment on it. If I do like it, I'll let them know. But it's like and it could be also like an echo chamber too, where it's like I am hearing the same things from the same people all the time. Right. But that's what I use it for. I know what it is. I know it's what it's not, kind of a thing.
Do you think though that and I'm really legitimately asking, do you think that posting so regularly cheapens your actual live interactions that you have with people? Like sometimes I feel like people that post so much, when even if I don't see them for 5 or 6 months, and then all of a sudden I see them, I go, hey, how's it going? And they go, oh, great. And I'm like, what's going on with you? And then they go, oh yeah, this and this. And I go, oh yeah, no, I already know all that stuff because I see you post it every day. Like we don't have anything to fill each other in on, right? Like now you actively know everything I'm doing every day, all day. Like back when we used to write letters to each other, it was like, how's it going? How's the family? What are you doing?
Yeah.
2 weeks later, you would get a response, right? And it would be like a 6-page letter because they had to fill you in on so many things. I think about the being inundated with information thing too, Kris, because I'm someone who like, we joke about, conspiracy theories or whatever, but I believe that in Hollywood movies, there's a kernel of truth in it no matter what kind of movie it is, right? So even if it's sci-fi and it's all aliens, there's something in the narrative there that is a real thing. And I remember watching it was an Indiana Jones movie, the Crystal Skull one. And in the Crystal Skull movie, at the end, they realize that the crystal skull is actually an alien skull, right? And they take it to this old ancient temple, and they attach it back to the skeleton. And then what happens is the alien beings tell this woman as a reward for bringing the skull back, they were going to grant her whatever she wanted. And she said to them, "I want to know everything." And so what then all of a sudden, all 12 of these skeletons, right? They start blasting her with this light, and her brain and her eyes start glowing in her head. Like, you can tell she had no idea what she was asking for, right? It was way too much. And she's getting now all of a sudden this uncontrollable surge of information is coming into her head, and it kills her. Like, she can't control it all, right? It's exactly what you're describing, Kris, right? Like, it's exactly. Why do I have so much information about everybody I know, and how does that affect my relationships with them? And we were talking too about how you can do jujitsu with somebody for 8 years and never know who they vote for. Well, the only reason I know who you vote for is because what you put on social media.
Right.
Right. So we might be able to go our entire lives and have a beautiful friendship that lasts the course of our life and never encounter those things, except that we all feel compelled to constantly put everything we think, feel, or see on social media as soon as we do.
Right.
What I mean, that has to have an effect on relationships, right?
Oh, absolutely. It has to. And I also don't think that, like, you can sit there and say, I'm going to try to be a good person and accept everybody, and then run to the social media comments and say some toxic bullshit, and like, it's funny, like, I don't see a ton of people that I know. Like, I follow Jordan's hikes because I like watching, what the pictures are and where he's going and that kind of stuff. But, like, outside of that, I don't really look at any of my friends' shit. I look at Sweeter After Difficulty stuff. I look at Jordan's stuff. That's it, And the funny thing is like, now, I get to talk to you guys, and like, Jordan, I haven't seen you in a week or two, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, what are you up to? What do you do? Like, I'm looking forward to, like, hearing about your stuff. It's a totally different feeling than, like, waking up, popping on your phone, going through social for 5 to 10 minutes, and then, like, okay, this is wrong in the world, and I'm not good enough at this. And, and it just, like, creates this, like, hum. Like, you talked about the room in the temple with the, exploding skulls or whatever. And it's like flipping all of those lights on. Like, that's what the internet is. It's like a portal into that. And stepping outside of that ecosystem just, like, calms all of that stuff down. And it's so much easier to focus on, like, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? Like, I'm interested in that as opposed to, like, the static everywhere.
Yeah, I think too, there's something about being able to be in the same space, right? Like, even the nature of podcasting and these conversations, right? Like, I think this gets pretty close to the kind of authentic interaction that I want to have regularly, right? But there's something about being in the same space, right? Sharing the same oxygen, sharing energy, physical contact, even just a quick hug when you see somebody, and then you're aligned, and then you start having the conversation, and it's, and it feeds both of you. It's really difficult to do that in a virtual space, like where you're talking to someone, online. Much different, like Jordan, lives in Georgia. So, these are the conversations that we have. This is the nature of those conversations. Is it amazing? Yes. Right. Because previously it would have, again, like I said, it would have been 2 weeks between correspondence for us. Well, how's it going out there? And then he'd bring right back. It's great. It's hot. We're getting ready for this season. How's it going out there? And then it's like months go by and you've only had 3 or 4 letter exchanges,
Right.
But there's also something to that too, right? Because you're sitting down, you're putting like when you get a letter like my wife, Michelle, is a real big proponent of handwritten notes, right? So she loves to write handwritten correspondence to people, and she writes them for me all the time, right? So I get notes left in my truck or on my mirror or whatever. Like she writes notes for me all the time.
That's awesome.
And every time I find one, I instantly I grab the paper and I just run my thumbs over the writing, because it's an imprint. Like her hand and that pen imprinted her thoughts on this paper. It's something tangible. It's something I can feel. You could almost feel the energy she left on it.
Yeah.
Right. Especially from the tone of the note. And it's something so intimate and special. And especially when you hold it up to the way that we communicate with each other now, you hold it up to a text message, it makes that feel like cheap trash, even if the text message is nice.
Yeah.
Right. Like I literally could pull up my phone right now and I could pull up Michelle and I could tap in the type box and it could give me the prompt, I love you, that I could just hit and not even have to type it out and just send. Right. I don't even have to think about it. Right. Mindless sentiment.
It's
versus
so funny.
Intentional energy. Right.
I saw a study on this from back when I was in college. And I studied English lit. So this is like the act of actually writing with a pen. And I don't remember what the study was or who did it or whatever, but I distinctly remember sitting there going, when you write slowly, like with a pen, it takes your physiological stress markers, cortisol, and drops it. It improves your immune function, which that's what like stuck with me. Like, how can this improve immune function? But basically, it says it's engaging a part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, that downregulates stress, which is a totally like different mechanism for when you're communicating than when you just autofill "I love you." And like Randy, exactly what you're describing is exactly what the study proved out, which was it reduces rumination, so you're not sitting there spinning over time. You've got a skill set in your mind of how to process feelings and moments in time and that kind of thing. So just the act of writing itself, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, pen and paper, has all of these chemical cascades that wind up at the end of the day fixing the balance between dopamine and cortisol. Because now the reward is, I get 10 minutes to be silent and think. As opposed to, I've got 10 minutes and what's happening in the world and what do I need to do and who am I talking to and what's this video say I should be doing to optimize my diet and all this other crap. And it's like, or go write a letter to somebody for 10 minutes. Like, it's just such a brilliant way of living life.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't want to write a letter to someone per se, maybe even just taking up journaling or, and again, like you said, Kris, it's not, don't sit down and type out a blog, right? Sit down and handwrite your thoughts and your feelings.
The point is how long it takes. I think that
a lot of times, because what you said, I think and you kind of skipped over it because there was a bigger point, but I think the crucial element that's missing is you got to think.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Like when you're sitting down to write, you have to think about what you want to say.
Right.
When you're interacting with social media, you don't have to think, you just hit the heart or you skip. Right. Or like whatever. If you're really moved, you might write a comment, love this or keep it up, bro, or great job. Like it's not anything like, I had a text interaction with a friend of ours this week, and he wrote me some really nice, encouraging words, like really sweet, very encouraging. Um, and I found myself just thinking this would have been like so much more impacting being said to me rather than being typed to me. And not to take away anything from the sentiment or the heart behind it. Like I believe it was authentic, and it's beautiful, and it was touching and all that stuff. But I really am finding myself craving the personal, real, look at my eyes, hear the words coming out of my mouth from me to you. And it's also something that I've been really intentional about with this podcast. I don't edit out the thinking space. When sometimes I'll start talking, it's like my style is I'll start talking and then I'll think of another thing that I wanted to interject earlier. I'll just stop and think about it and interject it and then come back. Like whatever. Or maybe not even come back. Who cares? But I think that's way more exciting, getting the real, unpolished, uncurated version of the thought process that eventually ended up being that thought spoken out loud. I think it's a practice that we're out of, and that we owe it to ourselves as a people to really
100%.
start thinking
100%.
about how to reincorporate some thinking, right?
I think that also there's and especially because I've been a recipient of several of Michelle's letters and stuff like that. Yeah. There's something to be on the receiving end of that as well. Like getting an actual letter, not just writing it, but receiving it. And it's just like, Michelle could write me a text, or Michelle could write me a letter, or leave a comment on a post. Like there's different values to each one of those. Like having a tangible letter in your hand, you're like, this meant something. She took the time to do this. She walked to the mailbox and mailed it to me, and it traveled across the country. Like, it means more. It makes you feel different than just a text or a message.
It does.
1000%.
It absolutely does. And she'll send me a text too, miss you or love you. And I'm like, oh, that I'm thought of. That's nice. It's sweet. Like I said, that's something about just the indents of those handwritten letters, it's like, it's just a different,
it's intentional.
Feeling. Yeah. When someone aims their intentions at you in a positive way, what's better than that? Right?
Oh,
like
totally.
somebody expressing good feelings towards you about yourself. I mean, nothing makes you feel better than that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like when you talk about it, like when they aim their intention at you, in a way, it's like social media is like paper dragons. It just, you kind of see it and you're like, oh, that looks cool, but there's no substance behind it. And then you have somebody write a letter to you, and it's like the real dragon. Like it feels impactful. It's like awe-inspiring at times.
Yeah. I think too, there's an element of like how nice it is to be around authentic expressions of joy, like in person. Like I really got this is a fun story. So Chris's daughter has gotten like super into theater, and so she's in this play, and so we were like, oh, we got to go see Clara's play, right? Because she's just so like she'll come in and I'll go into the gym and I'll go, hi Clara, and she'll go, hi, and she's always sweet and everything. But then Kris goes, hey, did you tell Mr. Randy that you're going to be in a play? And then like, just her whole face lights up, right? Like she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in this play, and it's called this, and I'm doing this, and I've got this part, and they're letting me carry a letter, and blah, blah, like just like launched into this whole thing. And so we were super stoked. And so we went and saw the play, and her face was just beaming the entire time she was on stage. And a super funny thing, right? So about 2/3 of the way through the play, every scene she's in, she starts picking at her finger, right? Like she's like keeps like she, and it looked like this, like she was nervous, right? Like she was doing something with her hands, like, oh, I'm not sure what, but she was still smiling or whatever. And so she did the whole play, and we brought her flowers, and they were purple, and she was like super stoked. Like she was just glowing. And Kris goes, I go, what, did you do something to your finger? And Kris goes, yeah, let me see your finger. And she pulls her finger over and she's got this like massive, like festering hangnail, like this horrible, like it must have been excruciating. And Kris is like, let me help you. And he goes to touch her finger. She's like, ah, you know, like super painful. But even that tangible pain could not dampen the joy that she had just being part of what she was doing. Right. And getting to go and see that live. And I've had the dubious pleasure of seeing many kids' plays in my life. You know, and you know, none of them are Broadway, right? Let's just put it that way. And this was a kid's play, like it's a theater production, but every kid there like was super into it. It wasn't like a school play, right? Like they were really into it. They really loved it. And getting to see that energy, getting to see the results of the work they put in, getting to see how proud Clara was of being part of it, how excited Will, her brother, was just to like be there and be, you know, like my sister's on stage, like, so like the whole thing is just so cute and so like so sweet and endearing. It wouldn't be the same if I just watched a clip that Kris put online, right? It would not be the same experience at all. And so I think for me, it was a little bit, also a little bit of a wake up call, you know, like I try to find the lessons where they come. I used to go to shows all the time. You know, I used to go see music. I used to go, you know, watch theater. I used to go watch dance shows. I used to go like do all kinds of things. And I got so burnt from the band days that I just stopped. Like I started enjoying the comfort of just being at home and quiet in my bed, you know, and I'm way too young for that. Like I still have so much life to live. And Clara Anderson shook me out of my malaise and made me want to get up and get out and see some more life and some more of the world. Wow. So just a cool, like, just a cool, real in-world, like personal live anecdote from the past couple of weeks. You know,
that's
really
crazy,
cool,
man.
really fun.
I had no idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think we could really do a lot of good for ourselves by learning to stop and take those things in and enjoy those things. You know, learn to bask in the glow and the joy of watching someone do something they love and really feel like the energy from them, you know, like absorb that energy and reflect that energy. Rather than being critical, you know, like I'll go watch bands play or even like go to church every once in a while. I'm like, oh, this bass player sucks. You know, like, that's not fair. You know, that's not right. It might be accurate, but it's not cool. You know, like that person did still spend a lot of time doing what they're doing. They thought it was good enough to bring it up here and display it in front of people. You know, the least I could do is be appreciative of the work they put in. You know, it doesn't have to be my cup of tea. The fact that they made me a cup of tea should be sufficient for my gratitude. You know? I don't know, just musing, you know, on the on those kind of interactions lately.
I wish I had more to say,
Super
but
fun.
I'm like awestruck. I don't know.
No, man. No.
It's hard to. I'm usually not at a loss for words, but I have no idea what to say.
Nah. You know, it's okay because you did your part already, right? Like you let us know it was happening. You helped us be involved. You know, you were there. We showed up. You were there with your kids supporting. You saw that play 6 times or however many times they performed it, right? You saw her practicing countless nights and you know, and working on those things. And then that's not it. I mean, like that play's over. She's a theater kid. It's right on to the next thing, right? There's not gonna be any time. But no matter what she does with it, that day I went and just watched pure energy beam off a child who was getting to do something that they truly were loved and were passionate about. I mean,
well, how
what
often do you
better
think
hope is there, right?
Yeah, how often do you think the adults experience that?
How often do you think adults
That's
experience that?
Yeah.
crazy.
See, I feel it all the time because I love jujitsu, and
Yeah.
you guys know me. I'll
Yeah.
roll up, I'll get the crap kicked out of me, and I'll be smiling afterward, like that was amazing, like that. Let's do that again, like, and I
Yeah.
love it, and I look forward to it. Or when I'm hiking, or when I'm running down the mountain, I have a stupid smile on my face because it's really enjoyable. But I don't think a lot of people get to experience that after a
I think
certain
you're
age.
absolutely right.
You're probably right. Unless they've
Yeah.
found something to focus on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even with jujitsu, it's such an interesting thing for me because I've been having these sort of realizations lately about, how I look at things versus what the reality of things are. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
is my perspective the right one, or did I latch onto it too early and now I'm just, you know, riding the wave of, of an idea that I conceived of and I haven't taken the time to re-examine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that jujitsu for me is a constant exercise in facing my ego down.
Mm. Yeah.
And I've been watching how things have been going lately, and obviously I'm feeling better about my game. I'm feeling better about my jujitsu. I feel stronger, but I still have this thing every single time that I look around the room and it's like, oh man, if I roll with that guy, it's going to be this. I'm going to have to, like, I hope I can just survive. Or if I roll with that guy, it's going to be that. And I'm like, those things don't belong in the space.
Yeah.
Right. One of the benefits of jujitsu should be that I'm able to get over that because night after night after night, I show up and I do my thing, right? Whether I get beat or whether I win, it doesn't matter. I'm not there to win or lose.
No,
I'm there to learn, right? So
Yeah.
why can't I just take joy in the learning and not have it be about me versus someone else? It's a great lesson for life too,
It's really funny,
It's a
man.
really great lesson for life.
I remember watching you roll on Tuesday night with that white belt, and you just had like the biggest smile on your face because you were having so much fun. And I'm like, I distinctly remember watching Jordan do that every single night. And usually I was on the bottom getting my butt kicked. While he was smiling and laughing maniacally while in S mount. But then we would like be done rolling and it was like, that was so much fun. Like so much fun. And I think you captured it, like both of you captured it beautifully. Like if you're doing this for the purpose of kicking the shit out of somebody, I'm not interested. So I like go have fun with other people. But if you're doing it because of the joy that it brings you and you find other people that share the same sentiment, it can be one of the best things in the world. And for the people that love that kind of thing, like it's exactly what you were talking about, Jordan. Like how often do you get to feel that type of joy? If you don't know what your thing is because your head's in your phone all day, probably not that much. But if you're lucky to find a community and an activity that allows you to do that kind of thing, don't let it go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it's because it's so revealing, right? The jiu-jitsu is such a revealing sport. Like it's very hard to hide who you are on the mat, right? It's very quickly you start to figure out who people are, what their personalities are like, right? And it's just like you click with somebody, you don't click with somebody, right? And how do you want to learn or do you want to just beat me up right now? And exactly. I'm a black belt and I'm not into rolling with people who were trying to hurt me. Like it's just not my thing.
Yep.
The unconscious receipt of that gift of energy, I think is what I'm the most fascinated by. Like sitting in a dark auditorium and finding myself smiling, watching our kids play, like why is that? Why is that giving me something? You know what I mean? Like, why is that bringing me joy? And I'm not looking for a negative response. Like I want to learn how to incorporate that kind of gratitude right into my everyday. I want that to be my natural state.
Yeah. I hear you talk about that.
What I receive.
And I'm like, I know that those moments out there in the world exist, but I'm like, man, how do you get to a state where you can receive that and notice it? Like that feels like it's got to be a journey enough on its own.
It is, man. And I feel like I'm still in the middle of it. I wish that I could tell you how to do it beyond just like really being intentional. And in these conversations certainly have played their part, talking about ego death, talking about, putting yourself aside, talking about promoting or lifting up others, talking about being open to receive energy. like all those things, I think it's the same thing. I feel that same kind of gratitude, that same smile. Like was smiling during that role with that white belt, not because I was whooping his ass, but because I remember being in a time when I couldn't smile through that, right?
Yeah.
Like where I was desperately clinging to life, like for whatever, for whatever that meant. But just super fascinating. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm going to put it out as we get to the end of this conversation. I want to put it out to the audience. If you're listening to this and you would be so gracious as to leave us a comment, I would love to know what you think about those ideas. Like what do you do to be more mindful and to activate your thinking? What practices have you put in? Have you thought about cortisol? Have you done anything that's been successful that's helped you lower your stress levels and to elevate that that natural good feeling and sort of move those things out? If you have, please drop a quick comment. Let us know what your success has been or your failures. We'd love to just be part of your community. And as always, you know, the sales pitchy stuff at the very end. But if you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, hit that subscribe button down there, set your notifications. We do these every Friday. We're building on them. We're growing them. The format of the show has changed, but the essence of it has not changed. We're here to have real, authentic conversations, to be open to the exchange of ideas, to be open to grow and learn together. And so as always, super grateful to you guys. Kris, Jordan, thank you so much for being here, for your openness, for your input, and just for the friends that you've been in my life. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Right back at you guys. Right back at you.
All right, man. Yeah. All right. Well, good show, fellas. Until next time, we'll see you guys. This has been Sweeter After Difficulty.